Another edition of Wings Weekly starts now. Jake Kleinknecht here and head coach Scott Langer, of course, joining me. Coach, let's get right into the weekend's games up there in Minot. You end up being able to secure 3 out of a possible 4 points on the weekend for the second weekend in a row. Not the worst case scenario by any means. But Friday night started out a 3-2 overtime loss, outshot 46-25. While overall the effort obviously good enough to go to overtime and to come from behind, a 2-0 deficit after one. Turnovers really seem to be the difference in that matchup, but again, a shorthanded goal. There's some positives that can be taken away from Friday's matchup. Overall, do you liked the effort, or maybe felt like there could have been a little more? I don't know. I don't want to say maybe the effort wasn't, not that was necessarily there, but a few turnovers and things like that you could have cleaned up. Or what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's kind of a normal Friday for us, getting off the bus, and it's a bus league, so you have to learn to get off the bus and to perform. And people call it bus legs or whatever you want to call it. There was a little bit of that, obviously, and they caught us right away with the 2 goals and forced us to have to push back and just find ways to generate offense. So, but yeah, I mean, making mental mistakes and turning pucks over in bad spots allowed them to get to the number of shots that they got to. Luckily, we had Cole Moore, between the pipes, doing a good job. But we got a point, and I thought we were good enough at the end of that game to win that game in overtime. We made one mistake defensively that obviously cost us a goal that we have to learn from, but we didn't let it get us down going into the night 2.
Right. Well, and you'd mentioned it, learning how on Friday nights, and like you said, it is a bus league. There's travel involved. I mean, how can players, in your experience, how can they learn to be able to come out to a strong start on a road game?
I think a lot of it is mental.
Yeah.
Like really understanding that when to turn it on and when to turn it off. And when you get on a bus and you got 4.5 hours, 4:45, we try to get there early enough where the guys can have some downtime and just kind of get going. But that's still time they need to be mentally preparing for the game. They can't turn the switch on when the puck drops.
Right.
So we've tried many different ways on our game day travels to try to get the best out of them, and I've yet to really find something that stops a slow start on a Friday night.
Right.
So we just have to continue to get used to it and salvage points while we're getting used to it. But you're going to be getting off the bus in the North American League and playing hockey games, so you might as well get it right now.
Right. Well, we move on to Saturday, a 4-2 win. Power play went 104, and by the way, power play 005 on Friday night, but the penalty kill perfect. Shots on goal a lot closer. I mean, overall, a pretty darn good effort. It seemed to me a little bit of a rocky start. A couple of breakaways and stuff like that, but it did not take long on Saturday night for you guys to jump into things, and of course, getting out in front early, or first, I should say. On Saturday night certainly helps too. Your thoughts on Saturday's matchup?
Yeah, way different hockey game. We possessed the puck a ton in that game, and we managed the puck well. We weren't turning pucks over. We were forcing their D to turn and go and have to defend. And they got a pretty good goaltender over there that's been pretty hot, so getting to them early, I think, was definitely a benefit. Anytime we're on the road, we want to get out early. So, but we tipped the rink at times against them, and some of our in-zone offense that we've been working on started to surface. Some of those little things that in 5 days of practice are starting to show that it's there. So we created a lot more offense against them, and they've seemed to be a little excited about the way that we're playing a little bit. So when the stuff does happen, we get some sort of success off it during the course of a game. And like this Friday to Saturday, watching us on Saturday make plays that we weren't making on Friday night, for the staff, that's exciting. Because that's what we're trying to get our guys to do, is make plays and play offensive hockey, be smart defensively, but let's be creative out there and let our hair down a little bit. And the guys are taking to that a little bit. And, we weren't scoring a whole lot of goals early in the season. We just weren't. And I knew one thing when I came back is we have to figure out a way. We don't have that pure goal scorer, so to speak. So we have to manufacture goals.
Sure.
We need to do that in groups of fives, and that started to surface on Saturday night. And I'm expecting that to go through the week this week, and we'll continue to grow on it. And I want to see that at home in front of our fans come Friday night.
Without a doubt. Well, it's funny because that kind of echoes the same sentiment from last week, about what you're talking about as a staff being able to see things kind of come to fruition. That's very cool. And I thought it was interesting also, those dirty goals, so to speak, the one Dubois had on Friday night, when you've got a goaltender scrambling, there's 2-3, shots coming at him and bodies all around in the crease, and he's able to get one into the back of the net, and then the same thing with Parker. They were very similar kind of goals, like you said, manufacturing goals, forcing the issue and making a goaltender scramble. I thought that was interesting. They kind of seemed like almost like mere goals to me in a way. And I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but you talked about on Saturday before the game and then just moments ago about cleaning up some of those mental errors that will lead to turnovers and that oftentimes lead to a breakaway or an odd man rush or whatever. How can you, as a staff, go about teaching these guys? How can you go about cleaning those things up? Or is it something in the players themselves where they have to, do what they've been told or execute how they've been told? Or is it something that you can take a different approach on?
I think it's all of that stuff, actually. I think it's the accountabilities on the player. As a staff, we preach playing the right way. We'll work on it through the course of the week and try to play in practice as you're going to play in the game. But I think it's a deal where you have the player and the staff have to meet in the middle a little bit, because some of the skills that these guys have got away with at a lower level are not getting away with them now. So it's frustrating the player, it frustrates the staff, it frustrates everybody that watches our game when we're turning pucks over and they're coming down and getting big time chances. So that's because the level of talent of the opposition has increased as they move up to this level? For sure. Okay. I mean, the talent in our league is really good. Our division especially is really good. And when they played in whether it was prep school or midget hockey or high school hockey, they could pull off those moves and make highlight tape moves, and they got away with that. Now all of a sudden you have big men who are 20 years old, some of them 19 years old, that can defend and are hard to play against, and now all of a sudden you have to change your game.
Yeah.
And I think we got a little bit of that, from even day one when I was here as a general manager. We needed to get past some of that stuff, and it takes more time for some guys than it does for others. Some guys wake up one day and go, you know what, maybe coach is right, or the goal goes to the back of the net and maybe the coach is right. We're never going to preach something that isn't in the best interest of the player.
Right.
So it's about development.
That's an interesting, and it's occurred to me before that, these guys come from high school or whatever, and they're a star. They're expecting to play, blah, blah, blah. Well, now you got a room full of stars, and it's the same thing when you're on the, on the other side of the ice. It's a room full of guys that are, that have a higher level of talent. And I never really occurred to me that might be something that might not be the easiest thing to come to terms with, that you aren't, the one that's going to be always going to be the playmaker or whatever. Interesting thought there. Okay, I know hammering this again, not to beat a dead horse, but Cole Moore. He was great last weekend. He's come up with huge saves, but this weekend, a 2-0 rush at one point. There were multiple breakaways and so on where he came up with. There were a couple, honestly, where I was like, I couldn't even look. It was like, oh man, this is gonna, and he'd come up with huge saves. And it really felt like, again, gave you guys an opportunity to win. I can't say enough about the way he's playing right now.
Yeah, he's being asked to play heavy minutes with, obviously, the injury to Gino. So, and he's done a great job there. And, he never asked for a night off right now, knowing the situation we've been put in. It's a pretty rare situation to lose a top-end goaltender like Gino right off the popper,
Yep.
So. But yeah, as we're settling into our structure, we're making some mistakes which are benefiting the opposition, and they're getting chances off them. But Cole's doing a pretty good job of keeping us in the games when we need to keep in the games. So that's why I went after him. Yeah. I knew that he had the ability to be a big-time goaltender, and the same thing with Gino. And I can't wait till that tandem is back, and we have the ability to use both goaltenders of that caliber and allow guys to get a little rest.
Yeah, no kidding. That can't wait to do I dare ask? Is there any kind of a timeline on
It's
Gino?
getting really close, actually. Yeah, we'll have another doctor's appointment in a week, and if he's cleared to come back, he'll come back and start getting back into it.
Excellent. Okay, good to hear. All right, you've got Austin coming back here to the ODI Center. This is a team, obviously, you faced 2 weeks ago there at the Riverside. You mentioned it. Home games have been a little bit tricky, and have the Winds have eluded the Wings here at home over the last year, roughly. It's going to be a big weekend. We've got the Bust the Barn thing Friday night. You got candy toss stuff going on Saturday for Halloween and everything. I expect to see a pretty big crowd here at the ODI Center. What do you have to do against Austin, and what do you have to do to kind of turn things around when it comes to home games?
You gotta love it.
Yeah.
Like, you gotta love it. Like, when you get here at 5 o'clock on a game night and there's people already sitting in the stands going to cheer for you, like, this is exciting. Like, I'm excited as a coach to come back to the Odie and to perform at the rate that we should perform at, because the guys are doing a pretty good job, but they just need to be excited to get out of the gates. And they don't need to think about what their success rate has been up to this point.
No,
that's in the past. We're not changing that. So let's just get excited and have fun. But Austin's on a roll. They just took out Bismarck 2 in a row. So hot team coming in, and the last time we played them, it was an extremely physical hockey game, so we know we're getting into a battle with them. And, it's a dogfight in the standings right now between a lot of teams. So I hope our guys are ready to go. I hope they have a great week of practice. We have a lot of fun throughout the week, and when we show up here ready to play a hockey game in front of our crowd, it's go time.
Yeah. Well, ask this question here. I don't know exactly how to go about asking this, but is there such a thing as being too excited? Can they get too amped up when they come through that tunnel and they're just, maybe starting to make it a little bit, overthinking things, holding the stick a little too tight, all of those kinds of things until they settle in? Is there a balancing act?
Sure.
Maybe is what I'm trying to ask.
I think there is some players that do get that way.
Yeah.
I think there's some players that play extremely well when they're that way. Everybody has to know their own body and
Sure.
their own head when they come out of that tunnel. But at this level, you need to bring it back to reality really quick, get that one shift out of the way, settle in, and start performing.
Okay, great answer. All right. Well, Coach, that's about all I've got for you. Again, great job last couple of weekends here, 3 out of 4 on the road. That's not easy to do, and looking forward to some big home games here at the ODI Center against Austin. So good luck against them, and as always, thanks for your time.
Thanks, Jay.
All right, folks, we'll return with the second portion of Wings Weekly with a player coming up after this.
We raise the bar on bar food with sandwiches, tenders, and there's more where this came from. To the greatest of all times.
Second portion of Wings Weekly continues on, and as usual, folks, it is a player joining me. This time it is Patrick O'Connell of Westchester, Pennsylvania. OC, thanks so much for taking some time to talk with us here. I know this isn't always the most fun for some people, and I know you know what to expect. You did this last year and so on, but again, thanks for taking some time here.
Yeah, thank you for having me on.
First things first, a Pennsylvania guy, Phillies headed to the World Series. You've been following that, I imagine?
Yeah, I've been following it quite a bit. Go to games during the summer. It's pretty fun with my friends. So, yeah, I've been watching it.
Pretty excited to see them clinch and make their appearance here starting on Friday?
Yeah, hopefully they can win. It's been a while since they've won anything, 2008 or whatever. So hopefully they can pull it out.
So I got to ask you now, do you have a prediction? Phillies in 4? How's it?
I don't know. I did see the Astros swept the Yankees. I don't know. Phillies in 6 games, I guess.
There you go.
Hopefully.
Okay. All right, folks, we'll now start talking about hockey, Kay. Well, I know we went through this last year, and it's the first steps with everybody is to ask how you got started in hockey. But in the event that somebody, didn't see last year's or whatever, maybe they're new to the Wings or new to town and just started coming to games or whatever, tell us a little bit about how you got started playing the game.
It's pretty much my dad. He played when he was growing up, and I don't know, he just, I guess, took me to the rink one day and we tried out skating, and I ended up just liking it more than all the other sports I tried. I mean, I also played baseball growing up and ended up stopping that because I just loved hockey more and just continued with that. It took up more time also than baseball with all the travel and stuff. And I don't know, there's not really anything not to like, for me at least, about it. So.
Well, that actually kind of makes a little transitional question here. In USA Hockey, they talk a lot about multi-sport athletes and how that it's good to take some time away from one sport and go to play another sport, and that you can learn skills, hand-eye coordination, whatever, from playing baseball that can carry on back over to hockey when the time is right. But these days, there's so much travel and stuff involved. There's summer hockey, there's 4-on-4 hockey, there's the travel teams that are all around. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that playing baseball or other sports, or maybe other guys in the locker room that have played lacrosse or whatever else, do you think that helps you overall become a better hockey player? Or are you better off, to stick with one sport and kind of really try to hone your skills?
I definitely think playing like stuff on the side, like at least growing up, I feel like most of us did.
Yeah.
And then you kind of have to move away from it. But like in the summers, like you still have time. So like a lot of us golf. So
sure.
Stuff like that, I guess.
It's one of those chicken or the egg kind of questions, but it's interesting because there are some people that are firm believers that people should take months off of hockey and go play another sport. But I'm like, I just don't see how that's really even possible anymore, especially as you get older.
Yeah.
Second year guy, like we talked about, it has to be different coming back to this locker room, to this community, than it was your first time coming into town and kind of going, what the heck? What were some of the first differences that stood out to you? Did it feel kind of like coming home, so to speak, or was it the level of familiarity obviously would help things feel a little more comfortable, I would think.
Yeah, it was kind of just jumping right into things rather than figuring your way out as a first time here. So it's kind of just easy to just obviously everything's way complicated at the beginning of the year and hectic, but aside from just sorting out the team and stuff like that, I mean, it's pretty easy going for a guy coming back. Just like getting used to the billets, you don't have to do that and stuff like that.
Right.
Around town, signing autographs or whatever it may be with the fans, everyone already knows you. It's already easy to get into and it's fun. So,
what would you say? Again, different group of guys every year. Different group of guys. I mean, there may be some vets that return, but overall the chemistry is different. The locker room has changes from year to year. What would you say is one of the major differences between this year's team and last year's team? Not even on the ice necessarily, but just as a group.
That's a tough one.
Yeah, it kind of is. I was thinking about it, though. I'm like, because it does feel a little different to me. Just even on the road and stuff, there seems like there's a little bit different chemistry.
I don't know. I feel like we still have a lot of chemistry and stuff. I don't know. It's just different. I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah.
I mean, we still have
and it's still early too.
Yeah, we still have the European guys, just like we did last year. I don't know. Just some of the guys are just different, but I feel like everyone gets along well and everything the same. So. Sure.
Who would you say is the class clown, so to speak, of the locker room? I mean, most people said it was Niels last year. Who would it be this year? I heard some guys in the lobby one day talking about how every team has to have that one guy. And
it could be a lot of us, honestly. It's probably, I don't know. I would probably just looking around the room. I don't know. I feel like the easiest one is just go with Walshy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess so. Yeah.
And on the ice, most people wouldn't think that probably from the way he plays. But okay, leadership. I always talk to the veterans about leadership and whether or not somebody has a letter on their sweater. It's really kind of irrelevant because it feels like to me that every veteran has a role. Some are more quiet than others, some are more vocal, some maybe lighten the mood in the room, whatever it might be, there is a level of leadership. Do you feel that? And what would you say your role is?
Yeah, I definitely think, I mean, for me at least the way the beginning of the year has gone, I've been most of the time I've been playing with younger guys, so just helping them out with like getting used to just playing junior hockey because it's a lot different. But obviously that stuff changes all the time with the lineup. But I don't know, at least like in terms of everything, I just consider myself to be I guess a quiet leader. I just like to go out and just
by example,
play my hardest. Yeah, just show by example and just play hardest. I feel like that's just the best way and the easiest way to do it, at least for myself.
Sure.
So.
Well, and then like I said, I mean, obviously that's a very effective way to lead in many cases. When people see someone, putting the extra work in and stuff, they feel like, well, okay, well, that's how you get it done. Coach and I were just talking a little bit about, being in a bus league where there is travel and stuff, and you have a game and that you got to get ready for in a in a hurry on a Friday. What do you, as a veteran, what do you do to try to get rid of the quote unquote bust legs or those those kinds of things physically, but then mentally, like Coach said, he thinks as part of it is mental, where you got to get zoned in and honed in a hurry. Is there a trick?
On the road, usually, at least like before the game and stuff, like at the rink, I don't know. I usually just like to stay loose and just like make jokes, but like obviously because you have warm-ups and everything, so you have time to like get ready, but like I don't know, I don't like to be like too focused in, and okay. I like to stay loose and then get rid of the bus legs, I guess. Just depends if we, at least for me, if we skate in the morning or not before we go up. I feel like that's helps me at least if we skate. But if we don't, then kind of you just gotta have a good warm up, I guess, and just get moving. There's not really anything to it for me, at least. It's kind of hard.
Yeah.
So
it's something. Well, and Coach and I were just talking about that, how it is difficult. Something that players have to learn to deal with.
Yeah. Sometimes you just have to battle back, like we did on Friday.
Yeah.
After tough first period, just got to bounce back, I guess.
But that's again something last week Coach and I talked about is that tenacity and that determination that to battle through those the maybe a rocky start, whatever it might be, and this team seems to be able to do it here fairly, which is, and like Coach and I talked about before, in the long run that's going to pay big dividends.
Yeah.
All right. Last year, an injury obviously kept you from some games, but you ended up playing 43 games. 5 goals, 4 assists, 9 points. Right now, 14 games, 2 goals, 7 assists, 9 points.
Yeah.
You're on pace to shatter where you were last year.
Yeah.
As far as that goes. What's the difference? Do you feel like your game has stepped up a little bit in some form or another, or is it maybe just a combination of the lines mates, or how does that work?
So far, it's hard to say about like lines because it's been changing a bunch since the beginning of the year, trying to figure out chemistry and stuff like that, who plays well with who. But I'd say just like it's this past weekend especially, just use that as a building block to keep building confidence for myself to just get even better than what I've been putting out already. So. Well,
you've been, like I was saying, racking up points with assists and so on. A gorgeous pass from the corner to find Schmuck there on Saturday night. Did you see that building as you're going, down the ice, or was it kind of like get into the corner and turn and go, there you, or were you thinking it the whole way?
Well, Schmuck chipped it up, and I knew we would have had some sort of 2-on-1 as long as I just won the race. And the defenseman kind of just stayed passive, and Schmuck was there, and he finished it off. So it's pretty simple. Yeah.
On the tape and in the back of the net. Gotta love that.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about your family. I know I've had a chance to talk with your mom a couple of times. Very nice woman. Tell me a little bit about what home life is like. Do you have any brothers and sisters, for example?
2 older sisters. One lives in Florida now and works down there. And then my other sister, who's the middle child, I'm the youngest. She lives at home. She doesn't live at home, but she lives in the town.
Sure.
In Westchester, and works and I believe does part-time school too. Then it's kind of complicated, at least for me, because the whole billet thing but my parents billet for my team at home that I played for midgets.
I knew that. That was kind of why I wanted to ask you what that's like.
Yeah, so I mean, I could go into pretty detail about that, but just keep it simple. Now they have 2 kids right now that play for my midget team. They play for that team. Mm-hmm. And then during the summers, since my one buddy who lived with me for 3 years and played midgets with me at my house, and we went to school together, so he comes back during the summers. Like, we're kind of his American home because he's from Czech Republic.
Okay.
So he comes back home, and there's always someone there, pretty much. So
well, do you think it gives you a little bit of an advantage that you are familiar with the whole billet process, or maybe even that it gives your mom a bit of an advantage? Because I think a lot of parents are a little like nervous about sending their kid off to go live with someone else. Like, how does this work? What do we do? Your mom knows the ins and outs of it. Your parents, are used to this, and you grew up with that level of familiarity too. I feel like that would make it a little easier to be able to go off to another town.
Yeah, definitely. I think my parents actually helped my billets here, like for the first time building.
Really?
Because they already knew what to do. They've done it for 3 years or whatever we did it for before I ended up coming here.
Sure.
So they actually kind of just gave them like tips and helpers. Funny enough, but.
Yeah. That is, in all the years I've been doing this, I gotta say, that's the first time I've ever heard of that. That's pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right, hobbies, interests. What do you like to do when you're not at the rink working out or practicing or at a game?
I've really gotten into golf past summer.
Yeah?
So that's kind of my biggest thing now, I'd say.
You a gamer guy? Movie guy? What's your go-to?
Not really movies that much. I mean, every once in a while.
Sure.
I'm more of sports. I like to just watch sports, especially now. Phillies are winning. Hockey started.
Yep.
Football. Everything's going. So there's always something to watch. I'm more of a sports guy myself to watch on TV. And then video games sometimes, just here and there, not too much.
Yep.
Really.
To the sports fan, you're right. This is the golden time of year when everything's hitting on the right cylinders here. Post-game baseball, hockey's getting going, football's not winding up, but getting wound up.
Yeah.
How about, I got 2 quick questions related to food, okay? So if you had one food that you could eat for a year, for every meal, Friday, whether Monday through Friday, well, actually, wait a minute, Friday through Friday, every day, you're having breakfast, lunch, dinner, the exact same thing. What's it going to be?
I guess I just gotta keep it simple and say probably just pizza.
And what is on that pizza?
I usually just stick with just simple pepperoni.
Yeah.
Maybe throw something else on with it, like bacon or something. I don't know.
Okay.
Anything. So.
Now then, say you're familiar with what a death row meal is, right?
Yeah.
Say, I'm not saying you're ever going to commit any crimes or anything. I just mean if you had that meal, that was your last meal, what would that be? Maybe something your mom makes, your grandma makes, or whatever, some favorite food from back home. You can have anything and everything. What's that meal going to look like?
Definitely probably I'd put a steak. Maybe just like our Christmas meal dinner at home. Steaks with, we usually my dad makes these twice baked potatoes. Mm-hmm. And then whatever else we eat with it is usually, last year I didn't even get to eat it. So
yeah, unless they put it in a blender for you.
Yeah, I didn't get to eat it last year. So
but just think
it's been
about
a while.
How much better it's going to taste this year now since you didn't get it last year.
Yeah.
It's a good point, though. That would suck. Can you imagine how, well, you can imagine. I can't imagine. You're smelling all those smells and everybody's eating and you're just sitting there I hate this.
Drinking smoothies and whatever else. We made smoothies, protein shakes.
Dang.
It's not fun.
Was that, and actually that kind of reminds me of a question that I wanted to ask you about the recovery. last year. Would you say that's one of the most difficult things that you've had to do in sports? Because you weren't able to practice or anything. I mean, that you physically, even once you get the go-to, or the go-to, but the all clear kind of from the doctors and so on, you got to get your legs back. You got to get your cardio back. All of that was that. Did it come fairly easily, or was there a lot of work involved?
Well, I was able to practice. I just couldn't do contact.
Okay.
But I mean, obviously, it was still really hard to breathe.
Yeah.
Not being able to open your mouth out on the ice. But at least I could skate and like stay on the ice and have my legs moving for when I came back. But I mean, cardio usually isn't a problem for me, but I'd be lying if I was saying it wasn't like a little tough coming back, at least in that terms of stuff.
Okay, final question. Austin coming back into the building here this Friday and Saturday here at the ODI Center. Home crowd should be excited to play to see you guys play again. It's been a couple weeks on the road. What do you think you guys have to do as a team to secure a win? And maybe two.
Yeah, definitely just continuing to play our own game, honestly. We're finally, I think, starting to come into our own as a team. Just keep the offense going, I'd say, for us. Just keep scoring more, because we're getting great goaltending from Cole, obviously, since Gina's been gone. So he's been playing great, and yeah, just work as hard as we can out there, because we need to get some wins at home for the fans.
Yeah.
So
just kind of not worry about them, worry about you. Just do your thing, and things will be good, huh?
Number one thing is just getting wins at home for the fans. Haven't done that yet, so.
All right. Well, Wings are back home this weekend, as we just talked about, against the Austin Bruins. Friday, doors open at 5:30, and the puck drops at 7:15. It's Rooster Rush night. Help us bust the barn and help the Aberdeen Convention and Visitors Bureau. And you must be at the game to win an amazing prize package. Plus, kids under 12 can swing by the Aberdeen CVB on downtown Main Street for a free kids ticket with the purchase of a paid adult ticket. We've got $15 bar stool seats available inside the Automax party deck. Call Aaron at 605-380-5852 to claim your seat. Saturday, doors open at 5:30 and the puck hits the ice at 7:15. We welcome My Place Hotels as the game's corporate sponsor inside the Automax party deck. It's also our Halloween game, and costumes are encouraged. We'll have treat bags for the first 150 kids through the door, plus fans can stick around after the game for the Danger Von Dempsey's Candy Toss. Get your tickets ahead of the weekend's games online at tickets.aberdeenwings.com or at the door on game nights. You can also get $10 general admission tickets at any Sea Express location in Aberdeen with additional purchase. A few corporate night sponsorships are still available for the 22-23 season. Call Aaron at 380-5852 to see what's open. Wings hockey clinics with assistant coach Zach Stepan continue. Up next, he'll be hosting a shooting session on Sunday, October 30th, right here at the Odie. For more information or to get your youth skater registered, visit aberdeenwings.com. Don't forget, you can listen to Wings Weekly on the go via our podcast. Find the audio for this season's episodes on Spotify, Stitcher, or iHeartRadio. All right, that is pretty much it for today's Wings Weekly. Patrick O'Connell, thank you so much for joining me and taking some time for fans to get to know you a little bit.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. It's fun.
Absolutely. All right, folks, that'll wrap up this week's Wings Weekly.